Okay, so if I am using SimBA to train different behaviors, what I'm going to do to start is I'm going to pull up a video clip in Shotcut. So I have one that I've already started here. And so I just opened this video in Shotcut. I clicked here on the, oops, on the track. I'll pull that out. And I added this filter to give me the frame number. So to do that, I just clicked on the actual video part of the track and then pressed this plus button, selected text simple, and then in here you can just put, instead of time code, frame. If you're going to be doing, and then drag this to one corner. If you're going to be doing this a lot, which probably you will be if you're trying to do some behavior annotations for SimBA, you can save this. You can add this as a preset by clicking this plus button, and then making a name for it. I already have a name. I already have a preset for this, so if I saved it as frames, I have this. So I could just click text simple and then select frame, and my frame number would come up in this bottom right corner. I'm going to delete that because that's a little repetitive for me right now, and close this. So I open this markers tab, and I prefer to have it detached so that I can see a little bit more here and keep my video as large as possible. So I just did that by selecting markers up here, and I scrolled through the video frame by frame to look for behaviors. So when I find a behavior, I'll start scrolling here. I'll find a clear one here, maybe. Okay, so here you can see the tongue protruding out. So I'm gonna put a marker down there, and I've been color coding it just for my own self. It's not super necessary. And I'm gonna label it as a lick. So if I select on the marker, it will bring me right back to the onset of that. And this lick is, I guess it's present for that frame too. So I can change this start time to be the frame before, and the end time is the next frame. So it's important to make sure that you are adjusting these start and end frames to capture the entire length of the behavior. This video was taken at a shorter frame rate, lower frame rate, so the behavior only goes over a very short time, but so here would be another lick. You can also use, you can use the arrows to scroll through the time, and then when you see a behavior, press the key M. And then there is the option to press Control and drag to create a range, but I usually don't know my range until I look through the videos, and I usually only have 1 or 2 frames for this video. So I'll change that end time, and then save that. Once I'm done with this video, I'm gonna do 2 things. I'm gonna save this, and this saves a .mlt file, and so that is affiliated with the original video clip. So you have to keep both that and the original video clip in the same location that you started annotating in. If you change it, you're just going to have to navigate to the path of where the video is stored once you change the location of it, and it might get angry, but it's fine. it's still functional. And then the other thing I do is I go to export markers as chapters. And keep all of those selected and then press OK. And I'm going to go where all my data is saved here. And here's my text file. Oh, that's interesting. And so I'm just going to save it right there. And so if I go into that folder, and open this text file, you can see I have the timestamp and the behavior. This isn't super helpful, but it is just another way to know that you have all the behaviors and time somewhat saved. And then I've gone through with assistance from Georgia and looked at the deep lab cut output. It's not wanting me to interact with Shotcut right now, but looked at the deep lab cut output on top of my behavior labeling and adjusted the frames to make sure that whenever I was saying the mouse was licking, there were tongue points present. And then all of this information got input into a CSV, an Excel spreadsheet that essentially has a column with the behavior, the start and end times, the start and end frames. And then this is just checking to see if the deep lab cut data showed, the tongue during a lick or whatnot. Okay, so I am ready to start training SimBA on behaviors. To do that, I'm first going to extract features, and essentially what this does is it calculates a bunch of distances between the points and their relationship to each other, and does a bunch of math. And it saves this into a new Excel spreadsheet that it will be using to reference for the behavioral annotations, so that it has a little bit more data to work off rather than just the XY locations that deep lab cut outputs. So I've already done this, but to do this you would literally just click extract features, and it will extract features for all of your videos that are currently loaded into the project. So if you do want to keep some data for testing, you can manually go into your project folder, CSV, features extracted, and just cut one of these, like Command or Control X it, and then place it maybe just out here in your SimBA folder, Control V. I'm not going to do that because I have other data that I'll be loading in later that I can use for testing. So all the data that I have in here right now, I'm going to use for labeling. So once I've either moved the files that I need to for testing later or extracted all my features, I'm going to go into label behavior. I am going to select video, and I'll come on to this video, Neo Day 1, T11 to T12. So I've been using this as I go through this annotation video or GUI to label my behaviors. So it says I'll go to a lick first. So it says my first lick is at frame 891. So I can actually just type in 891 here, and I do have to click on jump to selected frame. Pressing enter will not bring me there. Okay, and so here there's a tongue present, okay, and I just go back a frame to double check that I'm on track for the frames that I should be on. And so now I know that 891 to 899 should be my first look. So I'm going to go in here, and what I've been doing first, because we really want to make sure that we're training it correctly is I'll just go through. I can use my arrow keys to go through to 899 and see when this tongue leaves. Okay, and so it is on frame 899. And so I now know the frame range 891 to 899. I visually confirmed this. I can select check this box frame range, and then I can check spout lick. That's what this is going to be annotated as, and then save the range. And I'll just do a couple others. So let's do the second lick, which is 909 to 917. And I'm going to jump to that frame and go back a frame. Okay, it starts on 909 and it ends on 917. So now I'm going to just adjust this 909 to 917. You can see that spout lick is no longer checked because I never checked it for these frames. I'm going to select that and save the range. And so if I had gone through and say labeled this entire video, annotated it, what I would then do is just to double check again is I would go back to the frame 0. I would start at frame 0, but I'm going to start at the frames that I know I annotated. I would go back to frame 0 and I would just scroll through the entire video and make sure that I didn't make sure, one, that each time I see the tongue or behavior, I'm seeing the behavior checked next to it, next to the image, and that it's checked for all the frames. Okay, so you can see that check mark next to spout lick disappeared, and now it is reappearing on time and disappearing. And so I'll just double check that throughout the entire video, and then I'll select save annotations. So if I save annotations now, I'll get something in my SimBA window saying that the annotation file for this was saved and it's my project folder, CSV's targets inserted directory. So I'm going to go to my project folder, CSV's targets inserted. Now if I look, this is the video that I was doing, 5 Neo Day 1 T11 T12. It has a whole bunch of data because it has all of the data from the features extracted, and then it has all the deep lab cut data, and it's just concatenating it on top of each other. Okay, and so then at the very end, these are just logicals for whether or not the behavior is occurring for each frame. And this is, again, what the model is going to train off of. And so I'm going to go down to frame 891, I believe it was. And so this is just a nice way to double check that you've been saving everything. It might be a little tedious to actually go through this line by line and make sure that it's correct. I much prefer going through the video visually and seeing if that box is checked next to the frame for their respective behavior. 880, okay, so I'm coming up on it now. So here I am at frame 893, and I'm seeing a 1 there. And so let's see, you have to remember that this does have a couple of lines at the top. So this should be 891. So there should be 2 kind of title lines here. If I'm looking at row 893 being the first line of the lick. So I'm going to just go back up, and it's saying 893 to 901. So let me go up and just see if we have, we're starting at line 1, so that means it's 892. And then there's 1 title line, so that's 891, which matches which frame it should be based off of my behavior annotations. It should be 891. so that's pretty much it in terms of annotating and saving your annotations for SimBA.